Hello friends and welcome to the Architecture Enthusiast and to the Glasgow School of Art, designed by Charles Rennie Mackintosh. Built in two phases between 1897 and 1899 and again in 1907 to 1909 in Glasgow, Scotland. Mackintosh redesigned both the interior and exterior of the Glasgow School of Art to stand as a shining example of his early forward-looking pluralist architecture. The building was made of stone to reference Scottish baronial tower houses, which Mackintosh considered incredibly modern in their original use of iron and glass. Mackintosh was always sensitive to surrounding architecture and existing national traditions, but at the same time added his own freestyle aesthetics. On the left-hand side of the building there is the entrance, an asymmetrical composition built to unusual non-classical proportions. As such, he seamlessly merges a wide variety of different influences. Since this building houses an art school, one of the main requirements of the project is the lighting of the interior spaces. For this purpose, numerous large glass openings were introduced to maximize natural light. This is also why the main school classrooms are located on the top floor, while spaces that do not need as much lighting are relegated to the lower floors. The side elevations have a vertical emphasis, while the rear elevation has two courtyards that provide light to the rear of the building. Separating the two courtyards is the stair core. The building has an eclectic unity, combining volumetric masses of heavy masonry with modern large industrial braced windows and Art Nouveau influences in the ironwork and interior details. The building plan is a long E with corridors along the spine which link large art studios along the street side and smaller ancillary rooms and offices on the back side. At the east and west ends are larger rooms, most significantly the two-story library on the west. The entrance is located slightly off the center, up steps from the street, and leads to a top-lit museum in the back of the building. The north side facing the major street presents a simple horizontal rectangular mass. Large industrial windows separated by masonry piers light the studios. This facade is set behind a low stone wall with an iron railing, which is interrupted at the center with an Art Nouveau iron arch. In contrast, the east and west facades are narrow tower-like masonry walls punctuated with small pane metal windows above steeply sloping streets. From the south, the rear facade reveals the three arms of the E. These masses make a varied assemblage of forms rising above the cityscape of roofs below it. The museum skylight and the hen run, a glazed gallery connecting fourth-floor studios, are just two elements of the lively composition of stucco walls. The interiors were designed in collaboration with his wife Margaret MacDonald. With equal emphasis, Art Nouveau floral and geometric motifs bring scale and color to the rooms in details for mantelpieces, lighting fixtures, carpets, and furniture. Mackintosh once wrote in a letter to her, "Remember, you are half if not three-quarters in all my architectural work." And reportedly said, "Margaret has a genius, I have only talent." She created several important interior schemes with her husband. Many of these were executed at the early part of the 20th century and include the Rose Boudoir at the International Exhibition at Turin in 1903, the designs for a House of an Art Lover in 1900 and the Willow Tea Rooms in 1902. She exhibited with Mackintosh at the 1900 Vienna Secession, where she was an influence on the Austrian secessionists, Gustav Klimt and Joseph Hoffmann. They continued to be popular in the Viennese art scene, both exhibiting at the Viennese International Art Exhibit in 1909. The library was redesigned and built later in 1906, a two-story volume with the mezzanine overlooking the first floor. A darkly finished wood structure supports the mezzanine and ceiling. Light fixtures, glass bookcases, carved balusters, chairs and work tables all are designed with Art Nouveau motifs. In many respects, the library of the Glasgow School of Art is a typical large library with a reading room and a raised gallery to store the books. But Mackintosh spectacularly transforms this typology by exaggerating the visual importance of the pillars of the gallery. These pillars are of a singular design. A first shaft rises 19 feet 8 inches which supports two beams sandwiching it. This assembly is repeated again and again. The framework supports the gallery that is set back to reveal the structure bearing it. Then he boarded it with an imposing balustrade, then added a false ceiling that closes the volume. The final effect is an illusion. The pillars appear to hold up the false ceiling while in reality it is suspended by two metal hooks from two concrete beams. The architect deliberately sacrificed more than a quarter of the volume of the library to achieve this effect. With a certain sense of paradox, a mixture of influences that were to define the architect's later career can be detected in the building's form and detailing. Influences from Scottish baronial and medieval architecture to Japonism and the work of contemporary architects like Norman Shaw and C.F. Avoysi. The Glasgow School of Art was constructed in two distinct phases. The first phase of construction between 1897 and 1899 saw the completion of the central and eastern sections, including the museum headmaster's room and boardroom. The northern facade was designed with the entrance at the center, which is reached by a sweeping set of steps. Large windows set into gridded frames and accentuated by delicate ironwork flood the internal studio spaces with an even northern light. The headmaster's room is positioned above the entrance with the balcony crossing an oriel window above. The studio, which is accessed by a stair tower that extends beyond the roof line like a castle's turret. The building is described by the Charles Rennie Mackintosh Society as the architect's masterwork. By the time of the second phase of construction between 1907 and 1909, the design was amended to include new second-floor studios and workshops in the sub-basement. Introducing a more 20th century look and feel, being influenced by the emergence of modernist ideas, the West Wing accommodates the school's most famous room, the Mackintosh Library, which was constructed around a framework of timber posts and beams. Influenced by traditional Japanese architecture, the library also featured decorative details including short balustrades between a gallery and the wooden uprights that were enameled in bright colors and a cluster of electric lights that cascaded from the center of the ceiling. Since its completion, the Mackintosh building has functioned as a home for the school's fine arts students and staff and has been praised for how well its spaces continue to function more than 100 years on from its completion.